In this video, we're going to be trading Bitcoin together and going over some very simple technical analysis techniques to ensure that you have the most successful trades. Hello folks, Safe Analyst here, bringing you guys another great video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over 4 very easy steps to follow while trading to 1, ensure that you are mitigating the most amount of risk as possible. And 2, so that from your entry point, you have the most upside potential. So make sure you are sticking through till the end, because I will be showing you guys my best and secret trading technique that I use. So let's get started with this video. And I'm gonna start this video by giving you guys the most important point of the video. And if there's anything you guys remember from this video, you remember this. And as a trader, it is our duty to mitigate the most amount of risk and have great loss prevention. Because at the end of the day, traders are not defined by their great wins, but how well they mitigate loss and how well their loss prevention is. So I've broken down this trading strategy into 4 easy steps to follow. First, number 1, you want to identify the major trend. Usually this is going to be in the higher time frames, the daily, weekly, or the 4-hour. 2, you locate local support and resistance bands. So whatever price action area you are trading, you're finding support and resistances local to that price action. 3, you are finding the best entry that follows the major trend. So relative to the major trend, you're finding a trade setup within that trade setup. So if the major trend is bearish, you're finding a bearish trade entry. 4, and this may be the most important one, you're establishing a great stop loss. So let's take a look at the charts and really apply these 4 easy steps I've kind of outlined. And for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to take us back to just this previous June, right after the whole Luna debacle, where there was a lot of volatility in the markets, which makes it really easy for us traders to really get some good trade setups. So let's take a look and get started. So I'm on the daily here, and I see that the major trend clearly is a downtrend, right? Like even if we're at the end of June here, it is clearly a downtrend, and even relative local. Let's go to the 4-hour, right? Before we had this huge, we still had a downtrend here. I mean, there was no established uptrend. We still didn't set a higher high or anything. So it's safe to say our major trend is still a bearish trend. So first thing, we already located the major trend. Next, we need to find local support and resistance bands. So for us, let's get looking here. Right away, I see one right around here. Right around here. And these don't have to be perfect. And right around here. And I can also see, and I'm gonna actually take it down to the hourly now because we're looking for our trade setups. You can actually kind of see a downtrend resistance as well that I think it'd be very good of us to acknowledge and kind of just get some exposure to that. We've located support, resistance bands, even a local downtrend. So what's our next step now? Now our charts are looking like they're ready for us to wait and be patient for this perfect entry. So let's say we're at June 29th or we're waiting for a perfect setup, right? We know that this downtrend resistance has a big play. I mean, it's gone back a while. It's gone back for almost a month back. So I'm waiting for my entry to be close to this downtrend, because I know that it still owns the trend. So here, let's say I'm here, I'm not entering this trade. The trade has already shipped sail. I'm not gonna enter bearish here. It did end up being bearish and continued to go to the downside, but I am the patient trader, which will allow me to prevail in the end. So let's say, boom, nothing happens. We're waiting for our trade setup, and then boom, we get our first hour of crazy buy side pressure. Like, we went up almost 3%, 4% in a matter of an hour. Crazy bullish price action. Now, a lot of inexperienced traders, what they may do in this situation is flip bullish because they're not paying attention to this major trend that's occurring. So we're not in that situation though. We're the ones being patient here and actually waiting for this perfect trade setup. We've already drawn this major downtrend line, and usually, obviously this is a little weird as we're going back in time. But in real time, you'd be drawing this trend all the way out. And guys, look what happens. Let's say we don't even know what happens after that hour, but we get it does play into effect with this downtrend. So as it's going up in price, we're being cognizant of this and trying to get a good entry right around our downtrend resistance. But before we can do that, we need to get and establish our stop loss. So how I do that? So let's say I want to put my entry in somewhere close to this downtrend. Let's say like 20,700, 20,750. I'm going to place my stop loss closest and relative to the nearest resistance that played out. And here's the thing, this is where it gets specific to you and how you want to trade. If you're really convicted and want to really ride this trade, you can play it safe and put your stop loss at the highest point of resistance. So 21,500, 600. But me, I'm usually on the side of caution, and I like to place my stop loss relative to the nearest resistance. So I'm most likely placing it somewhere around 21,200. And guys, from my entry, that is only, and honestly, I probably played a little bit more safe. I'm taking like 22,000, 21,300, maybe 21,200, but in that range. And that's only 2.5%. That's very minimal loss if I end up being wrong. And look at the opportunity here. So I'm 2.5% in my stop loss, great loss prevention, and great entry. And in this situation, it actually did play out to being in this downtrend, and we ended up being, right away you were in the loss, which is obviously a little scary, but that's why we have our stop loss. But right after, shortly after, we see this completely play out. So I've showed you guys how to identify major trend, locate support and resistance bands, get a perfect entry, and get a good stop loss. Now, what comes next, right? You need, and this is where my best trading strategy comes from and what really helps me mitigate the most loss. As I've showed you guys, take a look at the charts. I had a 2.5% stop loss. So from my entry, once I'm in profit, and I am 2.5% in profit then, so because I'm using it as a ratio, the stop loss is a ratio, 1-to-1. So 2.5% stop loss. Once I'm at 2.5% take profit, I immediately move my stop loss to right by my entry so that I am no longer at any risk of losing any money. That is my best technique I use when trading because it really helps me to mitigate the most amount of loss. Once I'm in profit and boom, I've hit 2%, 2.5%, I'm done. I don't have to lose, I'm not gonna lose any money, and I can ride this trade out. And what I really like to do is I'll aggressively move my stop loss continuously as my trade becomes more and more in profit. So let's say here, right, I'm at 2.5% take profit from my entry. So now let's say it goes down 5%. And it, guys, there's a huge support here. So, and that's almost 5%. So once it's already past that 2.5%, I'm okay taking profit at 2.5%. That's okay with me. Any gain in this situation is very good. So I'm taking this 2.5% gain and I'm moving my stop loss once it even continues this bearish movement. So now let's say we're at 19,000 800 even. I've moved my stop loss now to 2.5% in profit. So I'm really riding this trade in profit nearly the whole time. Now, once you've entered your trade, you really need to be looking for an exit strategy. That's a very important point to trading as well. You don't want to lose the profits that you've made. So seeing that my trade is still in effect, you can kind of see that there's a resistance, a support 18,800. I may have my take profit right there because I'm not trying to get greedy. I'm just trying to get a good trade here. And look at what happens if you were to place it somewhere here. Boom, I take my take profit days later and I'm out. 7.5% gain, super easy to attain. So guys, trading can be very simple, especially when you're following these 4 easy steps. And one thing I really want to mention is my chart looks very different from the generic charts you may see on TradingView. And that is because I use the alpha trend indicators. And if you guys would kind of like to see the benefit and really understand how they really enhance your trading experience, make sure you go and watch my charting and indicators video, which I'm actually going to be leaving a link for in the description down below. And lastly, make sure you go and subscribe because you don't want to miss out on any of the videos I have coming. I'm actually going to be releasing somewhat of a video series where I go over the basics of trading and really go in detail on all the aspects that I addressed today, like finding support and resistance bands and identifying these trends. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and stay safe.